Hello and welcome everyone to episode 75 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I was I was trying to make up a fancy intro, but this is episode 75, which isn't like a milestone, but it still kind of feels like one.
Yeah, it's certainly because we also finish up at chapter 350. So it's nice even numbers all around. Well, kind of even numbers all around. But yeah, it's crazy to think how much progress we've made. And I can't tell you exactly where we'll be in 25 episodes because, movies in the middle of that, all that as well. Yeah. But it feels like we're moving. It feels like by the end of this, we'll probably be done with this arc, which is
I have a good feeling that wherever we land on for episode 100, since we're kind of in the ballpark-ish, maybe actually, you know what? No, I can't. I'm not sure. But one thing I do know is that since we hit chapter 350, and if any of our viewers or listeners remember where you left off reading One Piece originally, well, you'll know that we're about halfway to that point.
That's so weird. It feels like there's a massive amount of content after I stopped where I did, which was around, what was it? It was
Punk Hazard, you said,
Punk
right?
Hazard, that's it. I was somewhere in the middle of Punk Hazard. And it feels like there's so much more after Punk Hazard, but it's only 400 chapters. Granted, we haven't even reached 400 chapters yet, so it's like, oh, okay.
Well, not to get ahead of ourselves, but it's like you only have 4 arcs after.
That's wild. Just how much longer these arcs get.
Yeah, it's just that 2 of those 4 arcs are the 2 longest arcs in the whole series.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
there's actually a lot of One Piece news coming up because I don't want to spend too much time on it, but we got our first trailer for the One Piece Netflix.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot that happened.
Yeah, we're a little bit ahead of everybody else, so this will come out way after the fact, as far as when the trailer premiered. But I'm not fully sold on anything like that, but I'm also not thinking this is trash. This is just sort of that's about the best I could expect from a Netflix One Piece live action thing, and for that, you know what? I'm giving it a chance.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, which is saying something because
yes,
you see a lot of these other live action.
Hate.
This should be the ultimate anime that you just can't get right. It's too cartoonish for that, and I don't know. It might come together. Yeah. We will
I appreciate that they're leaning into it. It's weird. That trailer is weird. But in a way that they're not kind of shying away from the material or trying to be too coy or ironic with it. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, we'll have to decide what we want to do with that because theoretically, I mean, at the very least, we might just talk about the first episode and go from there and see if we want to cover more. Just as a special one-off in the middle of what we're covering, which is going to be hard, but we do it for movies. But I feel to be somewhat relevant, even though we'll probably be a little bit behind by the time it actually comes out.
Yeah, there was I don't think it was officially announced, but there was kind of a leak going around for how long it would be. I mean, it kind of if you've been following the casting, you know where they're going to end it. But yeah, as far as episode count is concerned, I don't know. We'll have to see how we approach that.
If I remember correctly, it's basically the entire East Blue arc, and I mean, typical seasons anymore are 10 episodes, so that's a lot to cram in.
Yeah. We'll see where it goes.
For sure. But we have some major stuff to cover. Holy crap.
This is live action One Piece season 4.
Yeah. Man, that'd be fascinating to see how they handle all of this. My gosh, this what a set of chapters. And I'm not even going to build it up. Let's just get into it with chapter 346, The Ninth Justice, as we see that Kadatsu has truly become the Blue Sea boss as he stands behind a counter with some milk nearby.
Yeah, good for him.
I mean,
you know what?
I'll
speak to your manager.
Yeah, this is set up. This is obviously set up because we finished Kadatsu's story on this, and we'll get to it when we get to it. But yeah. We actually get into it, the chapter proper with last time Zoro, Nami, and Chopper were all getting chased by the Carpenters because, well, they got stumbled into the middle of all the hectic nonsense. And fortunately, Zoro used the back of his blade.
And they're just a mountain of bodies.
Yeah, I mean, that's about right. That looks,
yep.
Yeah, appropriate. And they're headed off towards there, and Nami's leading the way, and Zoro still gets lost.
Of course, yeah. Or it's just like, he's like, Chopper's like, this way. Zoro's like, yep, we're just in the complete opposite direction now.
Amazing. But as far as Luffy being trapped under those weird metal donuts, I guess, he's able to use his rubber body to squeeze out, and he frees Polly, and they're on their way as we see our members of CP9 confronting Iceberg, and all of them are characters we had met before, because, yeah, it turns out it's Lucci, Bluno, Kaku, and Khalifa, right? I believe her name is, yeah.
Yeah, I still find Bluno to be the funniest one of them all, because he had like one scene.
Yeah, he really didn't get as much setup as the others.
It's Bluno!
Yeah. Oh, no, not Bluno. Never would have expected him. Although, I guess that also is kind of effective because he just seems like some random background character.
Exactly, yeah.
But as we learned from Lucci, now that he doesn't have to talk through Hattori, has gotten much more chatty. Like he is.
Oh yeah,
he is talking.
He's been saving it up.
Crazy.
He talks like this entire chapter.
Yeah, he talks through most of the chapters.
I mean, I find it a little bit ironic, since they're all about like government secrecy, and you get to this point in the storytelling where it's like, let me tell you everything that we're about.
I mean, they totally plan on killing him. Like that's the.
Oh yeah.
So that makes sense. I get the feeling it's like, nah. We've been saving this up for 5 years. We need a release.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my general feeling from it. Although I get it. Like it's like, man, they're not really good secret agents, are they? As far as like keeping their mouth shut at the final minute. Kind of like how we always gave Koro hell for messing up his plan for all that setup. But they seem a little bit more effective at making sure their stuff is under wraps.
Oh yeah, I mean. I guess that's the thing too, is we'll get to, like, they came prepared, so.
Oh yeah, every aspect is set.
Yeah, this is their victory lap, so I can allow it, and it's also very crucial information for the reader. So
yeah, we need to know this because we finally learn more about what Cypher Paul all is. There's CP1 through CP8, which is all public knowledge, and they're all top intelligence agencies stationed at bases around the world where they seek out information as the government orders them to. But there's also the secret CP9, which shouldn't exist, and basically they can't operate under the open because they're just secretly serving the government's justice. And, if that means killing civilians, they're allowed.
Oh, yeah. So that's why they're secret, is that we're allowed to execute them, which is... Yeah. Well, so I love what we're getting into is really more and more of, like, we're getting a bigger picture into how the Navy and the world government operates. Just because, like, we've only been able to see bits and pieces of it. But, like, they're basically just as corrupt.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of the vibe I'm getting. They're just kind of like, oh, yeah, we can just... I mean, because it's ironic, that they're all like, we are the ninth justice, blah blah blah. It's like, oh yeah, we could just kill people.
Yeah, and even Iceberg is quick to point that out. It's like a just killing is not even possible. So stop that. And there is, as Lucha mentioned, not everybody in the government agrees with this. There are some who can reconsider the way of thinking, but it also has others being like, yeah, we should grab that weapon for ourselves and put an end to this age of pirates. Just end it.
I mean, I do love, like, the kind of back and forth here between Lucci and Iceberg, where, that zinger on the next page where, Iceberg is like, I just know human nature, like, about, like, if you give anybody, it doesn't matter if it's pirates or a regular person or the government, like, if you let that weapon into the hands of anybody, it will get abused. Like, it's a very, they're each one of them's kind of like their perspective on, like, power and humanity, I think, is very illuminating here.
Yeah, it makes you like Iceberg all the more. I especially love that cutting line. It's just boy, and he just gets gets a kick to the face for it. But man, it's pretty. I love Iceberg for that.
Despite being shot, he's not having it.
Yeah, Iceberg's been through a lot, but he's definitely standing up to it. Lucci has a theory about the whole nature of the fake blueprints, because Iceberg had guessed that a culprit was from the world government, and so he had leaked the whereabouts of the fakes. But Lucci's like, well, what if it had been somebody with a grudge? If the real prints would lose their owner and cease to be handed down, you're definitely smart enough to not let that happen where it just doesn't work out. No, the reason that you've been so confident with this is because the blueprints are already in the hands of somebody else. And they use Kaku able to measure his heart rate in order to confirm this. And we get
it's like a lie detector.
Yeah, his own lie detector. And we get 3 very interesting names here, because even the fake blueprints had names of designers written on them: Tom, Iceberg, and Cutty Flam. And the company's name was Tom's Workers. So in their research, they learned that Tom only had 2 apprentices. This legendary shipwright Tom was the leader. Then there was Iceberg, and then there was another apprentice named Cutty Flam, who apparently died in an accident 8 years ago. At least that's what they were meant to believe. And it's like, oh man, we are getting into some, we're not getting everything, but it's enough to be like, what is happening with this? Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to point out the thing I really like about where Lucci starts his conjecture is that it is all information that the reader also could have put together. His sort of guess is extremely reasonable, that anybody reading this would come to the same conclusion. But that he's working off of the same amount of information that we are at this point, where it's you could reasonably if you had the blueprints, you could have just obviously you could have sent them on to somebody else if you were in the situation.
Exactly. And 4 years ago, they remember how a certain man passed through the gates, and he's like, that was the only time he gave his real name. So we actually know for a fact, or at least we're going to confirm it thanks to this lie detector, that Cutty Flam is alive and well, and he's here in this town, changing his name to Frankie.
There it is. Oh
my God. I knew it was coming, but it was also, that is such a good reveal to bring in Frankie of all things, this random chaotic force. But it also adds extra context to all of Frankie's conversations up to this point. His reaction to Iceberg getting attacked, his discussion in the bar with Kokoro, where he's hearing about the possibility of CP9 and what that means for the blueprints. It's amazing setup and payoff.
Yeah, because he knows, and you even see it just the little throwaway lines where even Iceberg talking about Frankie before, he had a very kind of knowing context to it.
Yeah. I mean, his deposition is what made them he's just an oaf, so we don't really take him into account. But based on all we've seen, all we've learned of these fake blueprints and your pulse, yeah, I think we got this right.
Yeah. Wow, what a guess.
And then what a fantastic way to end, because we finally go back to the others as they're all running towards the door. Nami, Chopper, and Zoro are heading towards the door. Luffy's ran into the wrong room, so he's in the room next to it. And basically all the CP9s getting ready to kill Iceberg, when all of a sudden both the door and the wall starts cracking, and in comes all of them as they're like... All right, chaos is here.
Yeah, even Zoro's like, Luffy.
Robin's like, Luffy, everybody's surprised. It's good.
In any other set of chapters, I think this would be my favorite 2-page spread, but this is my second favorite of this section.
I mean,
but it's pretty hype.
Yeah. A lot of that chapter is Lucci talking, but it's such interesting information. It is a very text-heavy chapter, and I've summarized a lot of it just because he really does work his way through the thought process.
Yeah, which I think really shows off Oda's confidence as a storyteller at this point, that he's kind of, and it's not, I know more because I remember more about this arc, that this is a lot, but it's not the whole picture still.
No. No,
so
not at all.
It really feels like Oda is just giving you as much as you need to know at any given point. And is just an incredibly patient storyteller, while also being incredibly meticulous in just all of the little pieces. And so that's what we've been just kind of like ranting and raving about ever since we got to Water 7. Like, it's just the way that this story is plotted is so brilliant.
I mean, we just got a ton of information, but we also have this other set, like, who's Tom? What was the accident that basically changed Cuddy Flam into Frankie and, presumably made him a cyborg?
Right.
There's a lot of elements here that are just sort of so well placed. And, well, now it's time to start learning fear. With chapter 347, 6 Powers, where Gedatsu has a realization. He's not the boss of the Blue Sea. He's a bath attendant.
Womp womp.
Yep. I'll give my final thoughts on the next chapter when it fully finishes off, but that's fitting.
Yeah.
That is fitting. But into the chapter itself, Luffy and the others have all arrived through 2 separate walls, and Luffy immediately just shouts out to Robin, like, okay, found you. Good. And just like, everybody else is like, what the heck is going on?
Right. Paulie in particular is just kind of like,
I spent 5 years with these people. What's going on here? Why are you the ones dressed up like that and trying to assassinate him? He's just really trying to process it. And Luffy's like, oh, right, the other shipwrights who with you, the guy with the pigeon. That's what Luffy always remembers. And so it's like, all right, the square nose guy. So the assassins were inside the organization. It's just like, oh, no, that's not good. And again, they're so confident they're just going to kill everybody. At least Paul, the Lucci is like, yeah, we work for government intelligence. All that time we spent together, we might have been comrades then. But to make us believe it, I could smash an iceberg's face to prove it to you. It's like, oh, go cold.
Well, I love the first reaction that Paulie has is like, all this time you could talk just fine.
Yeah, he's just like not talking through the bird, which is kind of perfect. Like, I don't know, I love that. He tries out a new attack, which is called pipe hitch knives, so basically just daggers woven into his ropes, and doesn't matter. Lucci just negates the distance and bam, finger into the chest.
Finger pistol.
Ow.
Hey, you remember that part, like right when we got to Water 7, where they kind of had a little argument and they had a little tussle? It was kind of even.
Yeah, that was not even.
Yeah. So somebody was holding back.
Yeah, that's for sure. Because apparently CP9's been trained in a martial art that goes beyond anything we've seen to this part. That apparently makes the human body equal to a weapon, 6 powers, and a master of this art is as strong as 100 men. Oh dear God.
Yes. This is no devil fruit.
No.
Yeah, I think in this chapter we kind of get like the full demonstration, and we've been seeing them in bits and pieces over the course of the arc.
Yeah, here and there. And poor Paulie's still trying to process all this. Like, he's remembering drinking with Lucci and having Blue Nose serve them and shouting at Caulifla and having Kaku try to calm him down. It's like,
he was friends with all of them.
Yeah, you feel bad for him. And he's like, yeah, we're going to kill all of you. That's all Lucci's all about. And Luffy, time to step in with his Gum Gatling. But Lucci uses a technique called Iron Body, and none of it affects him.
And this is the Bluno uses too against Talstone, I think.
Yes. Yeah. We see it again. So we've gotten Finger Pistol, we've gotten Iron Body, and next we get Shave, which allows him to disappear, close the distance in such a fast-moving trajectory that he's able to Finger Pistol Luffy in the neck.
This is the most Dragon Ball-ass technique.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, to the point that they use the same sound effect in the anime.
You know what? That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Lucci points out, if he wasn't made of rubber, Luffy would have died instantly because of a hole in the neck. But Luffy, hanging in there, still is able to rescue Paulie, get him closer to them. Lucci's just like, you're a pirate. Why are you helping him? And Luffy's just like, I made a promise. You're a traitor, and I made a promise that would trash whoever's trying to kill Iceberg. So I'm helping him out. And that's like, once again, somebody made a promise to Luffy, and that's all it takes.
And look, if Luffy sees somebody betray their friends, like, it's over.
Pretty much. But before that, it's time to ask Robin, what the heck is going on? Why are you with the government? And all she bluntly says is, if I'm going to make my wish come true, I can't do it with you people. That wish will be never fulfilled. So to accomplish that goal, I'm going to make any sacrifice.
God, it's so fascinating. We still basically know nothing.
No, we have no idea.
As much as exposition as we got about like CP9 and the government and all that, like Robin's role in all of this is still just like a complete question mark.
Yeah, we don't know anything, which is honestly kind of almost a bigger mystery that pulls us in. Like, there's the whole stuff with Water 7, but we still have all these crew inner politics trying to figure out.
Although I think the way Iceberg says, like, you know, he's like, are you crazy? Like, do you understand what you're trying to do? I don't know. Like, Robin, I guess, like, Iceberg is assuming that, like, this has to do with the ancient weapon.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, we've seen her divert from the weapon before, so it's something else, obviously.
Yeah.
But we don't know. And she even refuses to tell Zora what that wish is, what she's really trying to do. So, yeah, it's all kind of up in the air. But they're like, it's we're going to interrupt this. We have to find somebody. And there's only 2 minutes until the mansion goes up into flames because, you know, fire's really good at erasing evidence. So, you know, if you want to leave, you probably should do that soon. But you have to kind of get by us first.
Oh, boy.
I love how the chapter ends with Luffy just declaring, I don't buy it, as far as Robin being their enemy.
Yeah, he still believes in her, which...
I mean,
I think
it reminds me of Nami.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
She tried to get rid of him.
You're clearly not telling us the whole story, so I'm going to continue to believe in you.
Good stuff. Apparently, nothing major from the question corner itself, although there was a mention that it was around this time that Oda got married.
Oh, well, congrats to him.
Yeah, that's a patient wife. My question is, how the hell did he find time to date while doing all this? That's for any mangaka. How did they do that?
That does remind me. A quick aside. There's a Shonen Jump manga called Bakuman that's about making Shonen Jump manga that has a little bit of that, of like, how hard is it to make a manga in Jump while you're married?
I'm guessing it's pretty hard.
Yeah, there's some ups and downs to that. It's of course very, very exaggerated, but that's what that reminded me of.
Well, let's get to chapter 348, Fighting Power, and our final volume, where we've established the accidental baths on Hot Spring Island, and yeah, it's a nice place, but Gedatsu was used.
Which is a fitting in. You know what? He's used in a very wholesome way, but is also is very illuminating to just how kind of dumb and pointless this character is.
Yeah, I mean, it really just, I don't think we'll ever see Gedatsu again. I don't think it really applies, but it gave us a chance to see the Alabasta crew a little bit, and I mean, it ended up more wholesome than Wapple, but Wapple certainly made out better in the end.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, either way, it's still nice to see what former villains are up to, and it's usually something very silly and just kind of lighthearted and fun.
Mm-hmm. As far as ranking, I feel like I'd place this below Kobe and Helmeppo.
Yeah, I think this is. Maybe just because I really don't, I have no feelings for Gedatsu whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there wasn't really anything to kind of like, redeem isn't quite the right word, but just like
ingratiate yourself to him.
Right. Yeah. Like, what is interesting or kind of like charming about this character? The answer is nothing.
Yeah. He's just silly for silliness' sake. There's nothing really behind it.
Yeah. So, well, Not all of these can be winners. I'll be really interested to see what the next one is, because I don't remember. I honestly, my first time through the series, I kind of ignored most of the cover stories. So
that's funny to me.
Yeah, this is the most in depth. Honestly, even the ones running in the manga now, I usually kind of ignore.
Oh wow!
I'll read the summary when it's done.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, into it itself. Everything's about to go up in flames, and we got to fight our way through that. Time is ticking down, and Robin's actually the first to leave. She's like, they're just like, yeah, you fulfilled your role. Good work. And away she goes. And here's the crazy thing about this chapter. We've already seen Lucci, and we've seen demonstrations of Lucci's power hinted at before this point. It just seems like he's big and bad. And then here comes Bluno. It's like, okay, Luffy can at least take on Bluno, but no, they all have this power.
Yeah, everybody has the 6 powers, and they all seem kind of like even. I think it would probably be safe to assume that like Lucci's the leader of the bunch because he was the one doing all the talking. So I don't know. Like we've got Bluno, who's the guy basically out of nowhere. It's like, all right, yeah, Luffy can. He gives him a good kick in the face, and Iron Body is just completely ineffective.
And then we see, I think, our 4th power, which is paper art, where he just sort of flows like paper and dodges everything. It's crazy. Like they all have that base set of powers, and it's like, oh no.
Hey, that's a good way to raise the stakes without devil fruits. Is like everybody just is just like a super martial arts master.
Yeah. And we actually get the rest of our 6 powers as well. We have Moonwalk, which is...
We saw earlier.
They have a freaking double jump. Yeah, we saw earlier.
Yeah, they have a double jump. They are at the end of... They all played the Metroidvania. They've got all the power set. They've collected all the powers.
I just had a realization. This entire time, ever since Luffy met Kaku and saw Kaku go off to the ship, he's been trying to replicate going around the city like Kaku.
Oh, yeah.
He couldn't, and he's never been able to do it. He's always kind of failed at it to some degree or other. He's made it work, but he's always definitely less graceful. The reason Kaku can do it is because of all these abilities. He just subtly implements them.
Yeah. And we even saw that, again, I keep forgetting if I pointed this out in the show or not, but when that first encounter with Lucci and Paulie, like you actually saw Lucci use the finger pistol to sort of like his fingers went through the concrete.
Yeah.
Was sort of like your hint. I love how sort of relatively subtly that all of these powers have kind of played a role in these characters.
Absolutely. And our final power is Tempest Kick, which is so powerful that Zoro has to tell Chopper and Nami to get down, and it cuts the wall in half.
Oh boy.
Like, holy crap.
Yeah. And I love even like after seeing that, Zoro just goes in.
Yeah. Goes in and is I think we have his rival for this one because Kaku pulls out more of that shipbuilding stuff to use as a sort of makeshift swords. And I do also like this bit of dialogue here where it's like, oh, they're traitors. So maybe Kaku said, is lying about about the Mary. And he's like, no, I'm not lying. That is all seriousness.
Yeah.
I love that. Like any type of hope that you get from the Mary is immediately dashed and just sticking to it. Like, no.
It's sort of
the
like,
Mary is doomed.
We got to address that. Like they were actual shipwrights, and that's the, I guess, like the scary part, of the government conspiracy is, they're all among us. It's just like they're all hyper competent at their jobs, but also hyper competent government agents.
And that's scary. But yeah, it's Zoro and Kaku are dueling it out. Luffy's getting up trying to stop Robin from leaving, but she takes off anyway. Zoro is actually able to cut one of Kaku's blades, and it seems to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, Zoro can cut steel now. Don't got to worry about it.
He gets a little distracted saying for Luffy to go after Robin, and he gets a finger pistol to the chest.
Yeah, that line from Kaku is so cold. You don't need a bullet to puncture the human body.
Oh, God. Kaku should not be as cool as he is.
He really shouldn't be.
Oh, God. I mean, let's be honest. Outside of Bluno, I think all of them are cool.
Yeah. Honestly, even Bluto, he's on that line. He's cooler than he should be.
Yeah, his design is definitely the goofiest of the three, which is saying something with Kaku there. But there's still that air of coolness to each of these guys.
Yeah, and just like the suits is just such a good look.
Yeah.
Everybody makes it work.
But yeah, Lucci's there to stop Luffy, just has him by the face and won't let him go.
Yeah.
And then tosses him into the wall. Like, they are getting dismantled.
This feels like the most out of their depth that they've ever been, even more so than Inaru, and maybe just because there's more of them.
It's definitely because there's more of them, but even so more so than Inaru, because the thing with Inaru is that his lightning gave him a lot of leeway over people, and his mind reading ability. That's what gave him his threat level. But Luffy, once we saw Luffy negate that, then he wasn't actually that. He was strong, but not super strong.
Yeah.
This is the power that's negating Luffy's attacks, that he cannot stand up to it, and that's weird. It's not a devil fruit. It's just a martial art that they trained themselves in, which is insane.
Yeah, and this is we are now seeing what the government is capable of after kind of, just about the whole series of them kind of being just kind of cartoonishly incompetent. I mean, and we saw kind of glimpses of that, like, there was Smoker and of course, like, meeting Aokiji. He's an admiral, so of course he is going to be top level, but here we have just kind of like your typical secret agent.
Yeah, secret agents versus this, and even Lucci points that out. It's like the world government's most elite fighting force versus a mere band of pirates. Yeah, and it's like the full extent of our powers is classified. And, you would never qualify. And it's like, it's time to go. But I get a chance to show off, so I'm going to do that.
Lucci's kind of, he's kind of a show off, yeah.
He's definitely a bit of a show off. And we get indication that, oh no, he has a devil fruit.
Yeah. What was that we said?
Yeah.
They didn't have devil fruits?
Well, they didn't need the devil fruits. They weren't using the devil fruits up to this point. So that means they were even more powerful in Lucci's case. And I mean, Bluno, we know, has the Door fruit, which isn't, I don't know what you use that in combat wise, but yeah. Crazy set of chapters like so far.
Yeah.
Just, like,
oh my goodness.
Again, we went from so many early One Piece where Luffy really wasn't that challenged that much, and we haven't really seen Luffy get stronger. It's always been ingenuity that's allowed him to either beat enemies or just this pure grit that gets there, or he's just naturally stronger than them. This feels like the first real wall he's hit beyond just having to deal with Logia, right? Yeah, power. And
I think what I appreciate so much about this is that it's like we are finally kind of seeing the missing piece, between like fighting other pirates or just kind of other guys. Like we are finally seeing what the government is fully capable of, like when they want something and what kind of lengths they'll go to get it, which really like doesn't make them that much different from pirates at the end of the day. But
no, I mean between Aokiji and now CP9, it's like oh geez.
yeah it kind of finally feels like they're no slouches either.
But it also makes you wonder, like, how strong was Whitebeard? How strong was not Blackbeard, but how strong was Gold Roger?
Right, yeah it we'll get there.
Oh yeah. We do have a few things on SBS I wanted to address. I like the question about the abilities of devil fruits that appear in the anime and the movies, and Oda just clarifies, it's like, there are script writers that make those up, and my only role is they ask me if they can use that, and he's like, oh yeah, that's fine, or I plan to use that, so you got to choose something else.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Got first right of refusal, basically.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and honestly works out to the anime's benefit too, because they don't want to overstep.
This will probably become interesting a bit later once we get into the movies that are like the way that people describe them, because Oda has more involvement with them. It's sort of like the actual events of the later movies aren't canon, but the things revealed in them can be canon. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Like they don't take place, but the lore of them exists.
Exactly. Yeah. So I feel like those sort of kind of cross into like, okay, well, Oda's involved, so he knows what he's doing in terms of like weaving kind of the elements into the story. And there are stuff where from the movies where it's like the references that show up in the manga are very like obvious and very immediate, but there are others where like it kind of takes you a little bit, and it's like even in just like the last two, no, in the last chapter of the manga that just came out, like confirmed something that was a weird throwaway line from the last movie.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was sort of oh, that was weird, and then the manga went like, that's why it was weird.
It's probably a good idea that we started watching movies then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Kind of worked out.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to point those out when we get there.
Oh yeah. And then one last little thing, whose nose is longer, Usopp's or Kaku's? Usopp, just because his is rounded. Otherwise they're the same length.
The fact that they're the same length is you know what, never mind. That raises more questions than answers.
Yep. I'm just not worried about it. But yeah, chapter 349, Ordinary Citizens. And we're back to our animal escapades. Not much to talk about for any of these, but we're back to them. And yeah, fire in the Galley Law Company. This building has been going through a lot.
Yeah. I just, the way that this is all wrapping up, where it's just like, it's, everything's on fire, everything's in chaos, literally. I love the darker shadows and the increased contrast to like show that like the light from the fire is kind of reflecting on like all the people inside the room.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is at night right now, so it's just lighting up the entire sky.
Exactly.
At this point, they want to try to get the iceberg's room to try to save them and see what's going on with the pirates and what the heck's going on. And I like that it's Chopper who's freaking out the most because he understands the abilities.
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh god. And yes, I did not remember that they revealed Lucci's devil fruit this early on.
Mm-hmm.
And he is big. He is big.
I feel like even bigger than like later appearances, or maybe I'm just like remembering it differently. Later in the like as the arc goes on, like I feel like does it get shorter, or is it just like a dramatic thing, or am I just like misremembering? Yeah, it might be the angle too, but he's massive.
Yo, gosh,
he's a big boy. And
we got our cat fruit leopard model.
Yeah.
Speaking of Koro, man,
yeah, you had the audacity to call yourselves the Black Cat Pirates.
Yeah, and here's what I love about this more than anything else, because up to this point, the Zoan type seemed to be kind of the weakest. Still good, but how do they compare to the others? Lucci shows that they're powerful too.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I didn't catch this the first time. Like the line where, he says like, the more you train, the more your power is amplified, which is just like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever, but like he actually demonstrates this with like, he uses the Tempest Kick, which we saw kind of like break through a door. But like while he's in, leopard mode, his Tempest Kick demolishes the entire building.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah. I think that didn't register for me the first time, just like the difference in kind of like power.
And Oda makes sure to show that because you can see the previous cut in the wall, and then you see
exactly
his.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I like that Chopper's like, oh god, carnivorous zone types are much more grow more ferocious when they transform, and they're more powerful. And even Lucci breaks it down. It's like, while there are many unique abilities, a characteristic of zone types is the ability to strengthen your own physical abilities, and as you were mentioning before. And I like that we're like Oda is demonstrating all this. And now I'm thinking back, have we met a carnivorous Zoan type up to this point? We got bull, we got like a bird. I don't think we've seen that. I think this might be our first carnivorous Zoan.
Yeah, and I guess that might be just like what makes him different to the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of one off the top of my head. No,
not off the top of my head, but that's a cool detail I missed the first time around.
Yeah, same.
Things are not looking great for the crew because that debris from that Tempest Kick was about to land on Nami. Chopper pushes her out of the way, but he gets crushed.
Poor Chopper.
No. Polly tries to rescue Iceberg, but is of course stopped by the CP9. And you gotta feel for him. He's like, even after all you've done, I still feel like we're comrades. And Lucci's just like, yeah, not mutual.
Yeah, no, sorry, buddy.
And Luffy does get a punch in on him. So if you can catch him unawares, kind of like the whole situation in Skypiea, we can do damage, but it's like not like major damage.
Because like with something like the Iron Body, it seems like they have to kind of concentrate, or they have to actively focus to put it on. Seeing kind of further the demonstration of like the 6 powers while Lucci is in leopard form. This time he uses the finger pistol on Luffy and it goes straight through him.
Poor Luffy has been impaled so many times.
Yeah, which is that to me that was the point where I was like, oh god. Yeah. Like you saw it, it kind of bounced off of him before, but now it just went straight through.
Yeah. And this is the end of the fight. He takes the punch, finger pistol, impale, and then just tosses his ass out of the room and just says off the island, which might have actually happened. We don't know because Zoro tries to step in and this time he is ready for the Iron Body and he kicks Zoro away and Zoro does land in the ocean.
Wow.
And I guess there is more water right now because of, the whole Aqua Laguna thing and rising as we see later. But, yeah.
That's how you write a good villain is to just like you completely demolish established characters. But I am like in shock and awe at how completely demolished they got.
That didn't, not even a single chance. Like it wasn't like that first confrontation with Crocodile where he's like saw like that little spark of hope. The only thing we get is we got caught unawares, which I'm not sure is enough.
Yeah. It's just oof.
And the fires rage on. They find the people outside find an unconscious Nami, and they're like, "All right, well, we're gonna arrest her, and make her tell us where the others are." And as the fire burns, we see that Iceberg and Polly were both tied up in the flames. Although there is one little spark of hope, thanks to our good friend. Oh gosh, what do you call him?
Tyrannosaurus.
Tyrannosaurus, that's it. Tyrannosaurus might be able to save the day. That's my only spark of hope here, because otherwise these guys are burning to death. I mean, like we mentioned before about the Kuro's plan and him ruining it at the last moment. And yeah, Lucci spoke up a lot. But from all appearances, Luffy's dead, Zoro's dead, Nami's unconscious, Chopper's dead. He doesn't know. They don't know about Sanji. Usopp's doing his thing. Robin's on their side. Things are wrapped up, and even Zenshin's like, yeah, Nami's alive, but nobody's going to accept the word of a pirate.
Yep.
For all intents and purposes, they did it. They succeeded. Yeah.
Oh, and just even, I don't know. God, I love that last little bit where, where they're like, Iceberg, you may have been a brilliant master shipbuilder and a mayor of a great city. And then just like that page turn and they're just all standing in front of the burning fire. This is no ordinary citizen can defy the will of the world government. And
now it's off to find Frankie.
Yeah. Obviously, this is the spread I was talking about. This is my favorite one from the chapter.
It looks so good. It's simple, but it looks awesome.
It's incredible. Just it's all just like black and white ink. It's beautiful. And now they're off to go look for Frankie. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, things are not looking great for Frankie. I'm not really sure about his capabilities of standing up to all this. But
I don't know. He went toe to toe with Luffy, so
that's true. He did go toe to toe, but I mean, Luffy didn't really fare that great, and there's 4 of them, so
yeah.
It's not really looking super great here, but that's what makes it exciting. It's just like, oh my gosh, how are they going to get past this? But anyway, chapter 350, our last for the set, the warehouse under the bridge. And again, these 5 chapter arcs work out so damn well for us.
They really do. This is some much needed comedic relief, though.
Oh my gosh. But I love Kokoro as sort of this mysterious figure watching over and sort of seeming to know more than she lets on.
Yeah, there's something about that image of her like just drinking herself into a stupor watching the whole city burn.
Yeah. And just her saying like, this city's had some bad mojo for some time. I hope Iceberg's all right, but he's been hiding things that don't belong in this or any world. And it's like,
what do you know?
Yeah, Kokoro's up to something, like knows something. I don't know.
What is she?
And then we get them air stepping or whatever they called it to just going across the city, all in their full outfits. And
I prefer to call it wave dashing.
Wave dashing. There you go. And the Frankie family is about to have a bad time because they're still doing the whole plan of like, hey, we have Usopp, come to this spot if you want to save him. And they're having some comedy relief about how what the message actually is. Lucci shows up, has a mask.
It's like a paper mask,
kind of. I guess it's very odd. They're just all dedicated, like really beating up Usopp at this point. They see Lucci's like, ha, what a joke. And Lucci's just like, so where's this warehouse under the bridge? These poor fools.
He's just like, if you want to live, you have 3 seconds to answer. And seeing what he just did to Luffy, it's just like, yeah.
Yeah. That's not doing so well. But yes, this warehouse under the bridge, this Frankie's hidden base, is actually on the northeast shore in front of the garbage dump. And you see this little door there. And we just go back into Frankie where it's just like, you're breaking my heart. And the girls are crying too. It's like, you split from friends you travel with from the East Blue over a ship. Like, Usopp's just like, why are you crying? It's like, no, I'm not crying.
Frankie, yeah, he's so good. I love this. He tries to he tries to break out into song, play his little guitar.
I know. It's like, and Usopp is just continually like annoyed by them. I don't know. This sudden dynamic between Frankie and Usopp is amazing.
It's wonderful.
Just not what you'd expect from this whole situation at all. And even just the silly lines from Frankie is like, I've cried so much I'm exhausted. Not that I was crying.
I love that he sort of kind of, I feels like he's kind of recapping things for folks too.
Yeah.
He's kind of like talking to Usopp. He's like, I guess you're pretty mad about the 200 million. Not to mention the major beatdown we gave you. He's like, what happened. There's no point in holding a grudge. And he's like, oh yeah, also by the way, we spent all that money.
I will kill you. Yeah, it's interesting of Usopp to sort of just like, it's whatever.
Yeah. It's weird that he's on the other side of this, but I don't know. Seeing him and Frankie interact is really great.
Mm-hmm. It's him trying to grow because he's like, actually Frankie's saying I'll clear this. I know it's Frankie. I thought there was Usopp saying all this, but Frankie's like, yeah, I'll clear the slate too. I wiped out your crew's fortune, but don't forget, you destroyed my home sweet home and factory and wiped out most of my underlings. And he's like, no, you jerks are going to pay.
Yeah.
He gets angry again.
It's funny, like Frankie recapping what he did to Usopp. He's like, whatever. And then he's sort of like going through, well, that's what the Straw Hats did to me. And he's like, I'll kill you.
I'd love to know what the translation, like original thing he said in this section, because he's like, we should just call it Hannah Banana and shake hands on it. And they're like, no, you mean even Steven? Yeah, that's it. Even Steven. It's like, there's some sort of Japanese phrase that we don't know.
There's something there. Yeah. I think, God, between that and like earlier on in the chapter with the other Frankie family guys, they're just kind of like, don't like something about emotion and sinking them in the ocean. It's just like, you guys are just bad at words.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And Frankie even says, like, hey, if you don't know what you're going to do, be my underling because I've taken a liking to you. And Usopp's just like, nope, I might have quit my crew, but I'm still a pirate. And Frankie's a little upset about this. He's actually crying. But then we get a bit more information about Aqua Laguna and Water 7 itself, because this happens once a year, and it comes up to the second floor of the houses. So if you're in the back alleys or out in the Cape, you wouldn't last a minute. But that's why he took the ship there. So he actually did rescue Usopp in that case. And the problem is, each year it gets higher and higher. The water level keeps rising. And we actually get a flashback to what Water 7 was like beforehand, where there actually is land. And it's wild how different it is.
Yeah, actually, I didn't take note of that. Wow, there's so much more land under it.
Basically just like all one big complete island, but the ocean's risen to the point where it's a water metropolis instead, and all the sidewalks are canals. And they even further explain it's not the sea level's not rising, the island is sinking. In just a few decades, the town's completely unlivable. So that's an interesting aspect of all this.
Yeah, and it's sort of, that I mean, as we'll see here, it kind of like it brings context to the whole sea train thing at the beginning, where it was like that was kind of like it's how they get around now, basically.
Yeah, because Frankie explains that before that, this waters were so rough that it was nearly impossible to make trips between islands. So they're just like, we could be wiped at any moment. And then all of a sudden, the Puffing Tom that we met at the beginning of this arc is what saved this town. And all made possible by a genius shipwright named Tom, which we've heard about before.
Yep. And now we know that Frankie was one of his apprentices.
Yeah. And, man, it's just like a nice little puzzle all coming together.
Exactly, yeah. And I don't know, there's something about like that expression you see on Frankie's face talking about Tom. Like it feels very kind of nostalgic and very different compared to just the kind of crazy goofy guy we've come to know and love.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely the case.
I feel like that expression says a lot about his relationship with Tom.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. But yeah, we have the Frankie family trying to run away, and nope, they're utterly wiped out. But they have the location of that warehouse, and they're ready to go after Frankie.
I mean, I didn't think that bondage gear would work very well against the finger pistol, but it's nice to have that confirmation.
Well, there you go. Our final 2 pages, again, breaks it all down. What are you going to do about after fixing that ship? And Usopp's just like, oh yeah, we're just going to go on more adventures, and someday I'll go back to the East Blue, my hometown. I won't have circled the globe, but it's been to the Grand Line and back, and that's enough to qualify as a triumphant return. I'll be able to hold my head high. And Frankie's me like, no, you won't be able to get back to the East Blue. It's too far. And they're like, what? Yeah, when I hauled the ship up here, I got a good look. That ship is done for. Galley Law is correct. And it's just better to scrap the entire thing. And Frankie's like, all right, I'll help you take it apart. And Usopp's immediately like, no, you're not going to take it apart. And that's where we end.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting getting that confirmation from like another perspective. And it's sort of like kind of now we're seeing it, it's in the hands of a professional ship dismantler. So it's kind of like, oh God, this is kind of the worst situation that they could be in.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I mean, it's an interesting place to leave it. Like where like CP9 is ready to come to them. Everybody else has been taken out. Usopp there certainly can't take him on. It's just like, it honestly feels like nothing can really stop these guys at this point. The only like wild card we have yet again is Sanji.
Yeah. What is he cooking?
Good question.
I did want to mention again about the Mary. I do find it interesting too that like through just like kind of little side conversations, like Oda has gone out of his way to mention twice. Just like, no, we were right. Like the Mary's done for. Like no matter what other kind of plot things are happening, like we have had characters re-emphasize that the Mary is beyond repair, despite Usopp, trying to save it.
It's man, a very, very text-heavy set of chapters.
This was dense, but it's fantastic stuff.
It just draws you in. I mean, on one hand, I love that we're able to read through all of this. On the other hand, I love to see old forums back at the time when this was coming out chapter by chapter.
Oh, it must have been painful.
Reacting. Yeah, but what an arc. And we're not even really that close to the end.
No, we got a lot left to cover.
I think it's like 370, 375 until we're done with the Water 7 itself.
Oh, my goodness.
And that's not even the end. So, yeah, we are in it.
Plenty more to cover, but I can't wait.
Oh, I'm excited. But yes, with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 346 to 350 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at Bitnerd Games on YouTube, or Bitnerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I am at Brandon Bovia on Twitter, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job. And it's just been kind of just more of that. So follow me if you're into all that stuff. You know the deal.
Absolutely. And if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER to listen to the next episode 3 days early. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 351 to 355 of One Piece. Until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
It's Galilaw's main office. Such a terrible thing to do.
What do you mean, Granny? Did someone start the fire on purpose?
Well, I can't really say for sure. But usually, when I get a bad feeling, it turns out to be right.